Hey guys, it's Duke. The rise of smartphones, especially iPhones, changes everything when it is equipped with location services and map right inside the little phone. It really changes everything. It changes the way that we travel. From one location here, we can just book an Airbnb in the location around the map of the place that you want to visit, or it changes the way that you commute from one place to another. Instead of owning a car, dealing with tons of stuff with a car, you now don't have to own a car, but still have rides all over the place. Whenever you have the phone using Uber or Lyft, or you have so much power with location, with map, with all of these GPS right inside the phone. As a developer, as an iOS developer, sometimes you need to know how to implement map. Sometimes you need to have the features in your app. So inside this training, inside this workshop, I'm going to give you an introduction to MapKit by building this simple app. Here is how the app will look like after this training. We're going to have a giant map view. This is what we call a map view on the phone in the app. And then the first thing it does is it will load up a bunch of Starbucks or restaurants in San Francisco. And then it will it loads those restaurants by parsing JSON, parsing data in JSON format from a local file using SwiftyJSON. So we'll learn about MapKit, we'll learn about location services, we'll learn also about JSON and how to dealing with data, put that onto a map. And then it shows the location of the current user. It shows the restaurants around it using pins and annotations. And then when we click into one annotation, the little box that we call it, annotation, it will show the Apple's Maps app, so that we have turn-by-turn direction to one location to another location. That is how we are going to do in this episode, what we're going to do in this episode. So step number one, my friend, download the starter project right below this video. I prepared for you a link in the description so that you can download the starter project with all the resources, some data and resources that I prepared for you in the description. There, you enter your name and email so that I can send you not only the starter project, the complete project, all the resources in this workshop, and also you receive my weekly tutorials. Every single week I will send you awesome tutorials just like these for you to your inbox. So download your starter project right below this video, click the description, and let's get into the demo. Alright guys, so this is how the starter project will look like. We have a JSON file called venues.json. So this is the place where we are going to get the data locally from JSON format. It's basically in data format, which is just zeros and ones. But now we are going to turn that data into JSON. Later on inside your project, maybe you want to have like downloading data from a server via a REST API, or you parsing some XML, all of those things, you can just plug them into the MapKits that we are going to develop together. Cool? So inside this map view controller, we didn't do anything yet because we are going to build that from scratch, but it's very, very important that we have the venues.json. So please download your starter project right below this video and let's get started, will we? So inside here, let's have the view controller, and let's say I want to have a map. So I'm going to search for map view, and you'll see there's a MapKit view like this. So let's drag this thing to the screen like that, and then I'm going to scale that on of the screen so that it is just simply a view, a UI view, so you can just drag that to whenever you want. And then I'm going to apply auto layout on these guys by using the pin menus, having all of these guys pinned to the four edges. So add the four constraints like that. Pretty simple, huh? Alright, now let's go into the map view controller like this, and then we are going to import UI kit, and let's create a class called MapView
controller, which is a subclass of UI view controller. So this map view controller, what it has is it has an IB outlet to our map view. To do that, we are going to need to import MapKit to the map view controller, and then let's have an IB outlet with var called map view of type MKMapView. The type is MKMapView, like that. And then let's open up the assistant editor like this, and let's use manual. Oh, you know what? Yep, counterpart. Oops, manual. And then I want to use the, where is that? Here we go, manual storyboard, like this. And then I'm going to, let's have some space here so that we can work on this. So we have the view controller. Let's change the subclass of this view controller to map view controller. And then I'm going to control drag from the MapKit map view here to our outlet, like that, so that we can connect the outlet. Cool. All right. Now, if we run now, let's see how it looks like. Let's see how it looks like, because we have the map view on the screen. We connect the outlet, and let's see how it looks like. My guess is it will not be very nice because we didn't do anything yet. So let's see. Here we go. We run it, and boom! Right off the back, you see that we have the map, a full-size map. Now, currently at the time of this recording, I'm traveling to Vietnam, so that's why the first time you see it, it zooms into the country that you are in. So if you are in, like, for example, I don't know, India, maybe it zooms into India like this. If you are in the States, it will zoom in the States. So by default, the simulator does that. So now, what we want to do next, what I want to do next is I want to set an initial location that the map is going to zoom into, is going to set into. Now, of course, later on in the next few steps, I'm going to show you how to use current location, so that we can get the user current location and zoom in the map into that. We're going to show a bunch of Starbucks coffee shops in San Francisco, so we need to simulate that we are in San Francisco. So now in the view.load here, let's super.view.load like this, and let's set out the initial location. Let initial location to be a CL location with the latitude and the longitude. So let's make some space like that. The latitude here, I'm just by searching, I know that the latitude of San Francisco is 37.7749. The longitude is -122.431297, like this. So we have the initial location. Now, what we want to do is we want to zoom the map into that location. So what it does is somehow, let me show you how to do this. So this is the first time that we run this app, right? Let's see. Here we go. Let me delete this. Complete project goes into that, and then it will zooms into the place here, and you see there's a location. Well, of course, I'm not running this app. The complete project I'm showing you right now, it doesn't have the simulator, it doesn't have the Xcode project backs it, so that it doesn't have the current location. So that's why you don't see it. But inside our project, we'll see it. Okay. So now in here, let's have a method. I'm going to write a helper method called func zoom map on a location, which is of type CL location, like this. And it doesn't return anything because all we want to do is we want to zoom the map onto that location. Now, then we also need to have like a private let called region radius. This region radius is how much further around the whereabouts of the zoom you want to do. So you know that we have the north west, south, and what's that, east. I'm sorry, I'm bad. I'm terrible at direction. So north, east, south, and west, right? So how much further around the parameter of that zoom? That is the region radius. So we have a CL location distance to be, say, I want it to be 1,000 meters, which is 1 kilometers. Now 1 kilometer is, for those of you guys in the US, it is around 1/2 of a mile. Actually not. A mile, 1 mile equals to 1.6 kilometers. So you know that it's around that, okay? So now inside the zoom on map, let's have a coordinate region to be an MK coordinate region make with distance. And then we need to provide a center coordinate, which is our location, right? And then location, here we do dot coordinate, and then we need to provide a latitudinal meters. So this thing is going to be the space around it. To calculate that, I'm going to use region radius times 2.0, and then the longitudinal meters here, I'm going to use region radius times 2.0 also. Now we have the coordinate for the region. Let's call it MapView dot set the region animated. So we just set that region, which is coordinate region animated is true, so that it will zooms in nicely, and that is what we want to do. Cool. Now inside view the load, let's count our zoom map on an initial location. So we'll tell, hey, map zooms on initial location that I give you. So now run the project and see how it looks like. Here we go. The first run of our MapKit app, and somehow it zooms in like this. Now you don't see anything yet because we never put any pin, which is that little red thing that you see on the map. This is what called a pin, and this is this little thing, this little pop-up box, it's called an annotation. This is a pin, the red one is called a pin. This box here is called an annotation. So we didn't do that, that's why we don't see it. But if you look at this thing, if I hold the option key, you see there's 2 fingers and you can drag it down like this. And now, where we are, let's see. Oh, I don't have the name here because the type of the map doesn't have it. But I'm pretty sure that this is San Francisco in the state, and indeed this is the state, and the place that we were in is San Francisco. Cool. All right, so that is how you just like do very a sample test of using the map. We learn how to zoom on the map. Very, very important for you to do. The next step, let's add a sample pin on the map. Let's add a sample pin on the map. To do that, we are going to need to import something we called, let's see, we already have MapKit, so that's good. Now let's have to do the pin. How about we'll create a custom class for not only the model of a venue, but also this model class is going to give the classes that is responsible for the pin of a map the information it needs to display the pin. So I'm going to have a new file, Swift file, and call this guy venue.swift venue, and import foundation. That's good. So now let's import MapKit like this, and then I'm going to import address book, the framework called address book. The reason why we need to import the address book is that later on when we launch the maps, right, later on we are going to launch the map whenever we tap onto a annotation, then the address book library here, it provides some constants that we are going to need. to set up the locations of the map in the Apple Maps app. Just know that later on we're going to use this. So let's have a class called venue, and this is a custom class, a subclass of NS object. And because we want to have this venue represent an annotation, we are going to have that conforming to MKAnnotation. MKAnnotation. Okay? Now, to be an MKAnnotation, we are required to have a title called a string, and it is optional. And then we need to have a how about, because it is a venue, we are going to need to have a location name, the name of the location, and that is a string. So let me call that optional because it can be optional. Next, a location needs to have a coordinate. So let coordinate of type CL location coordinate 2D. Now, this coordinate is a must. If a location doesn't have a coordinate, there's some data missing in our app, so that is not good and that is not acceptable. Cool. Next up, let's write an init for our venue with the title of a string, location name is a string, optional, and the coordinate is CL location coordinate 2D, like that. Then from this, you know the drill. We just do self.title to be title, self.location name to be location name, and self.coordinate to be coordinate. Like that, right? Like that. Now, because we subclass NS object, that's why we will need to const the super.init too, so that NS object does whatever it needs to set up an instance of NS object. Cool. Now let's build it, and it says build succeeded. But then if you look at the MKAnnotation here, this MKAnnotation, what it does is it has the title and it has a subtitle. So let me have a var called subtitle, which is of type string optional, and inside here I'm just going to return a location name. Then later on, when the annotation looks into this venue class, this is the complete project, you see that it will take the title to be the first text field over here, and then the label, the title label of the annotation, and then it takes the subtitle here to be this little guy, and here we return the location name. Okay, so that the users can distinguish which location, which Starbucks is that. Now later on you can change it into any data that you want, of course, you know that, right? Alright, now we have the venue. Let's go into the MapView controller, and what we want to do is we want to show up this little guy, this little pin, just the pin, not the annotation yet. So just the pin. So let's do that. Firstly, let's create a let's sample Starbucks to be a venue with the title of Starbucks Imagination, like that. Location name, let's call it Imagination Street. The coordinate, so the coordinate here, I have some like built-in coordinates so that we can see that within the location. So here it is CL location coordinate 2D with the latitude and the longitude. The latitude, it is just magic number. Oh, you know what? Let's use this guy. Okay, latitude and longitude. Let's use the same latitude and longitude. It doesn't matter because we just want to have example. Cool. Next up, let's count the map view dot add, not overlay, dot add annotation, and the annotation is sample Starbucks, like this. There's some errors over here. This is just one, like that. But succeeded. Cool. Now I'm going to run this guy and see how it looks like. So what we just did is we add one sample pin to the map, and here we go. We have the little thing, and you see, just by default, it gives us this little guy, this little annotation. I actually didn't expect that, because what I want to show you to do is to create an annotation, the view for that annotation. Because what you can do here is not only you have this, but also what you can have is a button over here so that users can see, or you can have like gesture, tap onto this to perform some actions, or you can even have some images on that annotation, because that is a view that you can subclass, and you can give it a special view, a custom view to say. So let's do that. Let's create annotation for this guy. To do that, we are going to need to tell the map view that we are conforming to MKMapView delegate. So let's have an extension of our map view controller conforming to MKMapView delegate. Inside this MKMapView delegate, we are going to implement a method that gives the map the view for that annotation. And this method is called MapView view for annotation, and that returns an MKAnnotation view. And here it is, MapView view for MKAnnotation view, like this, right? And then inside here, inside this method, what we are going to do is it gives us this annotation. The type is MKAnnotation. And if you notice, MKAnnotation is a protocol. The protocol that requires us to have a title and a subtitle, so that later on when we click on here, we have the title is this big little thing, and then the subtitle is this little one. The reason why we have that title and subtitle is inside our venue, we conform to MKAnnotation, and we have a property called title of type string optional, and another called subtitle, also of string optional. And then we'll text the value of the title and the subtitle and put that into the annotation. You see that? Now, this is the very simple version of this MKAnnotation. What you can do is you can even add an overlay image into that. We'll talk about that in another episode. But in here, I'm going to check if the annotation here, annotation is indeed a venue that we create, because we can have different kinds of annotation, right? So maybe one type that you can have is without an image. Another you can have is with an image. So here, the map view uses, we should have an identifier for this annotation, because just like a table view, the map view will dequeue and enqueue the annotation, because it's a view, and every time that we click onto a pin, there's going to be a new view created. So why don't we just reuse the one that is already created, right? So just like a table view, you have the queue reusable cell. Here you also have the queue reusable annotation view. And to have that annotation view, the queue, we should have an identifier. The reason we should have an identifier is because the map view uses identifier to dequeue its annotation views. And we should have this identifier so that later maybe you have different annotation views, right? So the let identifier equals to, say, a pin, right? And then I'm going to create a view called MK pin annotation view. We just create that variable like that, and then I will check if we does get a dequeued view. If we did get this map view dot dequeue reusable cell with annotation, dequeue reusable annotation view with identifier, we give it the identifier like that, right? This case, this iflet, if it goes through, it means that we already create the view. Now we just dequeue that, we just reuse that annotation view. But if we haven't, what if we haven't Then there's no annotation created yet. Let's create a new one. So I'm going to use view equals to MKPinAnnotation view. And we should give it an annotation, which is this annotation with the reuse identifier is our identifier. Then we can configure this view. View done, we can show callout to be true. We can even do view.callout offset to be a CG point with the x is -5 and the y is 5. And we can even have this little button, right? We can even have this little button called view.write_callout accessory view to be what? UI button of typed. We use the typed is not detail disclosure. Now this is a UI button, so it means that you can have any kind of button here with any image, with any icon. I will cast that as a UI view. You know what? Let's just put that as UI view here. We actually don't need to because a button is a view, right? And then we just have to return the view like that. See? So in this case, if there isn't any dequeued view, then we should create a new one. But what if we already created? The next time that we use this annotation view, it will just dequeue the view. So when it is dequeued, we already have the view, so view equals to our dequeued view, because this is the view that we dequeued from the one that we created before, right? Let's see that. All right, now if we build and run, it will not be true because we haven't tell this controller that we are the MapView delegate. But before we fix that, let's see what this thing is. We should change this as MKAnnotation view. Alright, that's okay. And then I'm going to do dequeued view over here .annotation to be the annotation like that, so that we have that information inside the view, right? Okay, so this is MKPinAnnotation view, and this is cast that as MKPinAnnotation view. We should cast it down like this. Alright, or you know what, just to be safe, instead of force cast it, we should do as MKPinAnnotation view like this, and we can delete this thing. You see? And then it says that we are not missing return. Oh, oops, I should return to over here. If let annotation, and then I should return view, and if we don't have this guy, if we don't have the annotation, we will just return nil, right? Let's make some space like this. Now this is the case that we already implement this MapView delegate, so let's make sure that we tell our MapView that its delegate is ourselves, right? So now let's run the app and see how it looks like. Let's run it. Here we go. And we have this thing. It's still the same, right? Still the same. But look at this. We have a little button that we can click on. And later on, we can click into that button. We will show the map, right? The next step that we want to do is that we want to load a bunch of Starbucks venues, Starbucks restaurants, or I should guess coffee shops into our map. Because if you look at, oops, sorry for this, if we look at the app so far, we all have one silly pin that we created. Now if you look at the complete project, it has a bunch of Starbucks around here, around around San Francisco, right? You see different streets, different places, and if I click over here, I can even have the map to my current location, but this is the complete project. It is not run on Xcode right now, so it doesn't know the simulated location. That's why, but we will have that in our project right now. So let's talk about how we can load up sample locations or sample restaurants from the latitude and longitude from its location. Now in this case, I'm going to use a JSON file like this. I'm going to use a JSON file, and the reason why I use a JSON file is because most of you who want to use this feature in your app, well, very much likely that you are going to use your app to talk to a REST API, which is a server, right? A way to communicate with a server, and its server is going to return you a JSON format data. And the best way to parse the JSON into foundation object, which is Swift, is using SwiftyJSON. It is a very simple way to do that, so that it will save us some time and also be safe in a project. Okay, so the way that you can use SwiftyJSON is, number one, we need to go and open up our project folder over here. This is the project folder, right? See this? The project folder. I'm going to open terminal. Let's open up terminal. And then I'm going to do a CD, drag this thing, hold a little bit, this icon of the folder, hold it a little bit, and then you can drag it like this, and then release it over here. Like that, and press enter. So then you can go into this directory or this folder UI_sec. Okay, then we're going to do a pod init. Now, the way that I do a pod init here, it means to initialize a pod file. But if you haven't installed CocoaPods yet, what you can do is you can do sudo gem install CocoaPods like this. Press enter. It will ask you for your password, your Mac password, and just do it away. Okay. Now, if you already installed CocoaPods, all you need to do is do a pod init like that, and then you have a pod file over here. Then I'm going to use Emacs, which is a terminal editor, Emacs, and pod file like that. Okay, I just hit the PO, the pod, and then click the tab so that we can have that pod file like that. And press enter, and then here this is just a editor that just like Xcode, we can edit the text, very simple. And I will delete this £sign in the platform iOS 9.0. It means that we uncomment that line. In Ruby on Rails, this is Ruby, you can comment a line of code using this £sign. And then we want to use the framework. I want to delete this line, hold the Control key, press the K button to delete that line, that whole line. Control K again, Control K. Then below here we can add the part for our project, Tran MapKit like this. So what you can do is I'm going to part SwiftyJSON. Type correctly every character, please. Okay, part, and then this quote, and then single quote, and SwiftyJSON. And then now the way that you save in Emacs is you hold Control, click the X key, and then Control C, Control X, and then C, and then press yes like that. You see that? Now if I do Emacs pod file again, and you see that it will save this. Okay, just to be safe like that. Then the next thing that you want to do is to install those dependency. Each dependency is a library, a third-party library that CocoaPods will manage for you, so that every time that new dependencies will get updated, new versions, you just have to write a single line of comment of code, and you can get updated to all of those dependencies at once. Not like you have to drag and drop a bunch of other frameworks, a bunch of other Xcode projects into your workspace. That is a pain in the ass if you know about what I'm talking about. But here, just typing in pod install. Like that, it's installing SwiftyJSON and everything works. Now, close this project, stop the task. open up this white icon over here. It's called the workspace. Double click this guy, make it bigger, change it into Simulator 7, which is the thing that I like to use. Then you see everything is still the same. We have the venues here, but we also have SwiftyJSON. The reason why I know is you can import SwiftyJSON like this, right? And then build a project, Command B, and we succeeded. It means that we does have that SwiftyJSON, right? So now, when you look at the venues.json, this is whole JSON file. It's basically JSON is in JavaScript text, but it's structured in a way just like Swift Dictionary, very much like Swift Dictionary. It has key value pairs. This key value pairs, this value is another dictionary. This key is response. This value is another dictionary. Inside this dictionary is another dictionary. Venues is the key, and then the value of this key venues is an array of dictionaries. You see, it's structured very, very hierarchically. You see that? Yeah, very good, right? So now our job is somehow we need to turn something like this thing. This is a single place, single venue. You see this? A single venue here is the thing. We have the ID, we have the name, we have their phone number, we have the location, we have the latitude and longitude inside the location. Although you already know some of this stuff, I will go a little bit faster in here because we want to focus on the maps, not JSON. If you don't know anything about JSON, that's okay. Watch a tutorial. There will a link for you there to goes to my blog, and you will see there's a full out workshop free for you there to watch about how to parse JSON in iOS. I will go really deep there about JSON. Okay, so here let's talk about that. Let's create a class method, class function inside this class venue. The purpose of this method is we want to turn from a JSON format into an instance of venue like this. The JSON here is pretty much a grab method, a grab object of SwiftyJSON. Okay, and then from this JSON object we can have let title. Var title is a string, and then if let ungrabbed title equals to JSON, we get it at the name here dot string. If we do get the string, then the title equals to ungrabbed title, like that. Otherwise, the title is going to be an empty string. Let's do that. Okay. Then let's get the location name. Let's location name to be. I'm going to use this whole thing here is SwiftyJSON. Okay. If you know about parsing JSON, instead of doing this, we should do something like as string. Something like that, and then we process it like this. But here you can just use dot string, and then it will give us a string optional. Okay, but here we don't want to use a string optional, we just want to use straightforward string. Then location name to be a JSON at location at address dot string. Now this is special because if you look at this JSON data, the reason why we have is we assume that we get this, right? This JSON object. And then I want to get the location, right? And then the address inside that location. That's why we use the JSON location and then address. And because again SwiftyJSON, that's why we can like string it together like this. Access the chain of like that, not like you have to cast the each access. Okay, next let's have the latitude and the longitude. Let to be JSON at location. Again, you can look at the JSON file to make sure that I did it correctly. At lat dot double value because we want a double. Next, let's longitude. Long to be JSON at location at lng dot double value. Next up, let's construct a coordinate from this latitude and longitude. Latitude and longitude. The coordinate equals to CL location coordinate 2D with the latitude is lat, longitude is long. Alright. Then, because we want to return a venue, let's return a venue with the title is our title. Location name, coordinate, boom, we have it. You see that? Pretty simple, huh? Alright. I hope that you follow along. It's pretty straightforward. And all these things, parsing, accessing these strings, you just have to look at these venues. I don't want to go too close to that because it really doesn't matter for you. It just matters in this case that we use this JSON format data that I have for you from Foursquare. But if you use in your app, you should be able to use your own data model. Okay, now inside the MapView controller, I'm going to store a bunch of venues inside var venues inside an array of empty venues like that. And then let's have a function, called fetch data like that. This fetch data method will get the file name to be a bundle.main.path for this is file name, the path for the resource, path bundle.main.path for resource, right? Path, the resource is venues, which is the name of our JSON file over here. And then we have the of typed. The of typed is JSON because the name of the file is .json. Here in this fetch data, this is because I use a local file from the bundle. But if you download that from your REST API, this is the place where you download your data from a REST API. Okay? Then let's have file path to be a URL with file URL with path is the file name ungrab like this. Then let's get the data, which is of typed data, and then I'm going to do data to be try to get the data from the content of the file path, right? Because this thing it throws error because this file path may be nil. Maybe nil, or it's maybe a non-existing path. And also let's do an options of data.reading options with the raw value of 0. Like that. Okay? Then if this thing does catch the error, if we does have the error, then let's create the data here to be nil and we will report the error. Okay? Report error over here. Error.localized description like that, right? So your job here is maybe you want to put up an alert view or do something else with your UI, doing some animation so that the user doesn't get angry that hey, you got an error, the app got an error and it is boring. Okay? Alright, now when we got the data, let's turn this data, JSON data, to be into JSON format. So we ungrab that JSON data. Then we're going to let JSON to be JSON with the data of JSON data. This method doesn't exist yet because we need to import SwiftyJSON and build it like that. Succeeded. Yay. Alright, next up, let's get the let venue JSONs. Oops, where's that mistake? Here we go. Venues JSON. So when we have this whole JSON thing, it is this whole thing. Then if we want to get into this array of venues, we need to go down from here to response into venues, right? then we get JSON equals to the JSON at the response at the venues. And then dot array so that we get an array of JSON values. So for each JSON, venue JSON, inside the venue JSONs. You see, this is plural. This is just a single object. Then if let the venue equals to the venue dot from method from the JSON here, venue JSON, like that. Now I know this is a lot and it's kind of like doesn't make any sense maybe, but please, if it doesn't make sense, please unwind it a few minutes, like 5 or 10 minutes to watch it again, or just go along with me because this is just all about parsing data and I don't want to have this like too focused on the parsing data stuff because we have episodes for that. But also talking alone about the map itself doesn't matter because all map apps needs to have data from somewhere, and mostly nowadays it is from JSON and REST API. So you need to know that. Okay, so I hope that this helps. Now, when we have these venues, let's self.venues.append the venue like that. Then our method called fetch data is complete. Then now, when we add that fetch data in view.load, let's count fetch data. After we fetch this data, we will have the venues. So just count MapView dot add instead of annotation, just one annotation. Let's add annotations like that, which is an array of MKAnnotation that we can add a bunch of things. And this is venues. Now because we have a bunch of annotations now, let me comment out this thing, this simple silly thing, and we use this real data, right? So now let's run the app and see how it looks like. I hope that by now we should be able to see a bunch of pins on the map. And come on, here we go. See that? Pretty powerful stuff, isn't it? And look at what happens if I click into this. We have Starbucks, that is 2022 something. Okay, Fillmore Street. Here we go. See that? Now we have all the pins in the map. Now we have the annotation when we click onto the pin. Now we have all the data from our JSON file loaded into the view controller, putting those data onto the map. Let's do the next step. The next step is when I click onto this guy, an annotation, I want to know the direction from the current location to our Starbucks, the selected restaurant. Right? How can we do that? But before we do that, before we have the turn-by-turn location and turn-by-turn direction, we need to know what is the user's current location, right? The user's current location. So let's have a mark down below here. The mark count current location. And in this current location, let's have a location manager of type CL location manager like that. A CL location manager. This is the object that is responsible for managing, for doing almost all the work for you to get the current location of the user. Then I'm going to create a method called check location service authentication status. Check location service authentication status. Extensions may not contain stored property. Yep, because I create this guy in the extension. So we need to create this in the view controller, in the MapView controller, like that, a class, okay? So check location service authentication status. Now inside here, I want to tell the location manager that, hey, location manager, I want myself to be your delegate to do all the work for you. All right. Then, because we are the location manager delegate, right? We are the location manager delegate. We need to tell that, hey, MapView controller, conform to CL location manager delegate like this. All right. So we're just conforming to this, and all of its methods are optionals. So we don't need to implement it right now, but we just want to tell that, hey, I am your delegate. Cool. Next, let's check if our CL location manager delegate manager dot authentication status is dot authorized when in used. Now, there are two cases of authorization status. So the first one, I think is 3, but right, 3 or 4. So the first one is not determined. It means that the user hasn't made a choice yet whether to allow you to use the location service. Number 2 is restricted. Restricted meaning that the device is restricted not to be able to use location services. For example, if you work at a company, then if the company gave you a phone, maybe the company doesn't want you to be able to use location service because maybe you work at some like secret headquarters and they don't want to be able to identify it on earth the place that you work, right? Another one is denied, meaning that the user has just denied your authentication. The second one is authorized only. Then authorized when in use. When in use meaning that only when your app is on the screen, on the foreground. Okay? Now, authorized always is even if your app is still running, but if it is in background, for example, some other apps like camera app in iOS, by default is always, or the map app is always, or Uber app is always, then it always check the user authentication using location service. But be careful with this because Apple doesn't recommend you to use the authorized always unless you need it. So be careful with this thing because location services, GPS and stuff like that cost the user a lot of cellular data, and also battery. Because in many countries, they have like unlimited cellular data, but the battery is dying really fast. So be careful with this. We use authorized when in use. So if we have the authorized when in use, then let's use MapView dot shows user location to be true. So we want to show the user location. Otherwise, if we don't have the user authentication, then let's tell the location manager that, hey, we wasn't authorized to use location service. Let's request when in use authentication. Okay, so when we says that, hey, request when in use authentication, when we says this, the iOS system, the operating system, will put up an alert view to tell the users that you want to do that. So in view did alone. Oh, you know what? Let's do this in view did appear. Super.view did appear and made it, and we check location service authentication status like this. And now if I run the app, and of course in the simulator it doesn't have the GPS, but we are going to simulate that in the simulator. Okay, all right, so now it's running, but it doesn't call up our location service. Why is it? Let me check on this. Okay, so location manager, where check location service authentication status if it is when in used. Okay, now let's make sure by I'm going to delete this app, delete it like this, delete the whole thing, run it once again like that. So the way that you delete it is you hold the icon a little bit and then it will tickle. Okay, so now it doesn't request. Why it doesn't request? The reason why it doesn't show up an alert view for you to authenticate the users, something like this, is because iOS doesn't know that you want to use it, even though you call it in the method in your code. The reason is from iOS 8 or 9, I believe, it requires you to put a key value pair in your info.plist. So head over your project setting and then the info, click the plus button like that, and then typing in privacy like that, space, and then a dash like that, and then we use location when in use, and then it will suggest you that when you use usage description, press enter like that, and then double click into the value, and then you can put in your description here why you want to use location service like that. Okay, now if you run the app, iOS will put up for you that alert view to authenticate user to use the location service. So put it up and you see your description is right here, allowed, and we allowed. But where is our location service, right? If you use the map app, you know that there should be a little like blue dot somewhere over here, our location. Well, it's because we haven't configured our location yet. But there's also a problem here. Okay, so first thing first, let's test it out first. Okay, now let's rerun it first, and I will show you several problems with this one. Let's rerun it first. I'll rerun this guy, and it doesn't ask again because we already allowed it, but you see that there's no location, right? The reason is we haven't configured where we want to simulate our location. So what you can do is go over here, click this guy, edit schema like this, and then options, the run, options, and then you see allow location simulation, and then default location, let's put that as San Francisco, California, USA, and close. Okay, and then now let's run it once again. Here we go, simulator running, and if you zoom in a little bit, we don't have the simulator. Here we go. There you see that. So this is our current location, my location. Bingo. You see that? But now, there's a huge problem though. There are two problems. Number one, if I quit this app and then close it again, let me delete the app, okay? And then run it once again. Let's see. Delete the app. Run it once again. And then you see, we allow. Now, when we allow, like this, it doesn't show up our current location. You see, there's no blue dot. Why is that? Why is that doesn't show up our blue dot? Well, the reason for that is that when we check authentication status, if it is the case of not authorized yet, it goes into this case, and then we only tell the location manager to request when in use authentication. We never tell the MapView that, hey, shows the user location. You see that? Now, how can we do that? Well, should we just do MapView.shows user location to be true here? Well, it will not work. It will not work because this location manager requests when in use authorization here. Okay, the first time that we authorize, it is not immediately. It is not immediately, right? The user will have to tap that thing, and it is not immediately so that it can show this guy. So what you have to do is tell the location manager that, hey, start updating, updating location. Start updating a location. And because we tell the location manager that we are the self-delegate, we are the delegate, so inside the CL location manager delegate, let's tell the location manager that, that whenever it did update location, like this, did update locations, we will get called this method. Okay, now you see that it has an array of locations because it updates multiple tabs, a lot of tabs. And then we'll put all of those locations into that locations array. So what you need to do next is let location to be locations dot last. We want to have the latest one. And then what I want to do is we want to zoom in the map on that location. Okay, but before we do that, let's just tell the MapView self.MapView that shows user location like this. Okay, so now I will run the app once again. Oops. Expression results unused let variable like that, right? Oh, left value, right? So this is left value equals true like that. Now we need to delete the app because we are dealing with the first case of running. So let's delete this thing. Oops. Come on, here we go. Delete it. Run it once again. Here we go. The app is running. We allowed it. And if I zoom out like this, here we go. You see that thing? We have the current location. See that? Beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. So now we just know that it will. We just know that it will tell us the location, right? So it will show us on the first one. It works, but the problem is the first one. And when you open the app, the map is zooming like somewhere over here, and it doesn't show us the current location. The user has to zoom out and find the location and zoom in again 3-4 steps, right? So what we should do is we want to zoom the map. Oops. After this, right? After this, want to zoom the map on the location. Now if we run it, let's run it. Okay, so it goes here, but it doesn't zoom in. So this thing, it will zooms in when the first run. Then this guy, right? We should do it some way. Let me make sure that this thing works on the zoom the map. Now the reason why when we run it, it doesn't zoom in our current location is not because our zoom in the map is wrong, because I just tested with another method here. Okay, but it is because when we check for authentication status like this, if it is already authorized, we never tell the location manager that, hey, start updating locations again. We only tell the map view that shows user location to be true, because the map by default will show the current location. But if we want to get the coordinate of the location and zoom in the map and does all of those things, we need the location manager to does that. So let's run the app and see how it look like. Here we go. Let's see it. Boom! See that? So we have the current location. But one thing that I want to make sure is I just redo this a little bit over here, but I want to, instead of doing this, okay, so in the location manager, the update locations, instead of doing this, I want to use the shows location to be last like that. Oops. And then let's try it. Zoom map on our location and run it again, and hopefully it works. Okay, maybe it will just zoom in a little bit different region, but it will show up our current location. See that? All right, so we can reuse our zoom on map, so it means that you don't have to change anything. All right, last thing. I know this is just such a loud yell, but last thing. The last thing we want to do is when we click on an annotation. We want to show the user we want to let the user goes into the Apple Maps app and then having direction, right? Turn by turn direction using car, using users walking, or even request a Lyft or an Uber, right? They can do that in the Maps app. So how can we do this? Well, to do that, the first thing that we will need to do is inside our venue.swift. We need to tell inside the venue.swift, we need to tell the venue that it can a function called turn into a map item that return an MK map item like this. So this thing, the annotation will call this method to know that it will open up some details, some information in the map, in the Maps app, okay? So that's why you need the address book here. I just want to make sure, because inside here, let the address dictionary, we need to construct that to be a string of KAB person address street key, like this. And then we provide the subtitle like that, okay? The key is the A person address street key, which is our subtitle. Then let's have the place mark to be MK place mark with the coordinate with the address dictionary is address dictionary. Then let's create a map item to be an MK map item with the place mark is our place mark. And finally, I want to tell the map item the name of the map item to be the title. Oh, you know what? Let's do a string with the title like this and the subtitle like that. So that it's could be like Starbucks 122 Fulton Street. Okay. Then we return the map item. Bingo. Place mark. Typo. Okay. You see that? Now, lastly, we have an error over here. MK place mark M. Okay, so we build succeeded. Now the last thing is we just tell the map to perform an open the map. So here we go. Inside the MapView controller, like this, in your MapView delegate. Okay, below that we implement a method called MapView Annotation View. MapView Annotation. Let's select Annotation View. Okay. So we can do this, or you know what? Let me do the another method called MapView Annotation View call out accessory control tapped. So when we tap into this I button, it will show the map. Okay. Or you can do this that accessory view map open tapped thing. But usually what we want to do is click into this, show the direction, or you can do click into this guy to show the detail of that place. Okay, so here let's the location to be the view.annotation as a venue. Then let's the launch options to be our dictionary of MK launch options, direction mode key of MK launch options, directions mode driving. We have multiple here. And then location.map item. The map item is a method from the venue which is implement that open in maps with the launch options. Launch options. We see that? Alright, now let's run the app and hopefully we see the Maps app open. I don't know why I'm withering, but I see it. Here we go. We have the current location. I click into this Starbucks. Oh, this is nearer. 222 Mason Street. 222 is my birthday. Click over here and it opens the map and you see it shows the direction. How cool is that?
I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel so that every single week I can deliver for you free training tutorials every single week right on this channel. And also what I would love to do for you is I have a series of video tutorials that I share with you how to build real-world applications in iOS. Apps like Instagram, apps like Nike e-commerce store, how to build an e-commerce store, app like Facebook, all of those real-world, world-class apps, how to do that. I share with you how to do that step-by-step instruction. So all you have to do is click the link right below this page. You have a link to download all the resources in this episode. Also, on the trainings that I will send you, those 3 trainings that I have for you all for free. So click the link right below this page and download those resources now. Again, my friend, have an amazing day. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time. Until then, go out there every single day of your life, learn new things, craft your ideas, and contribute to the world.